Greetings, fellow Trek fans and fan editors. Welcome to the final episode of the Star Trek II Unity production series. Today, I'll be walking you through the fourth stage of this editing project. Can you believe it was mid-July last year that the Unity announcement video was released? Since then, we've crafted our new Kobayashi Maru shots, the new space dock arrival shots, and that beastly space dock departure sequence, which brought us into the new year. From the outset, I had intended the fourth and final stage of production to comprise all the miscellaneous recycled shots of the Enterprise that appear later in the movie. In fact, those shots might more accurately be described as the in-flight shots, because they are always shots of the Enterprise moving about. However, long editing projects invariably require an extra layer of revisiting and refinement, and so I stuck with the odds and ends description, knowing that some work would remain beyond the final shot. I'll elaborate on this a bit more at the end of the vlog. My initial rough assessment was that the motion picture recycling in Wrath of Khan ends when the Enterprise encounters the Reliant. This is also the point in the film where industrial light and magic takes over the visuals. I had loosely determined there were 3 recycled shots that needed replacements. However, there are in fact 4 recycled in-flight shots, because Harve Bennett found a way to redeem yet another 2-for-1 coupon at the tail end of the movie. So then, how does one suss out the imposters? Well, you can generally rely on 3 markers. The first is that the TMP Enterprise often has a wet metallic appearance, whereas ILM introduced a different paint job for better compatibility with its blue screen filming techniques. The second marker is that ILM switched to a more reddish light for the impulse engines. And thirdly, the starboard running lights, which by convention and canon are green, were damaged at some point, and ILM didn't have the resources to work through and repair the wiring mess left behind by the original modeling team. With the ILM markers in mind, let's take a look at the remaining recycled shots and trace their TMP origins. We'll proceed in chronological movie order. Shot number 1 occurs soon after the departure. Similarly, the source footage used for this shot is of the Enterprise after it left dry dock and experienced a failed warp attempt in the motion picture. I had no trouble composing the new replacement shot because the story makes clear that the Enterprise is being used for a training cruise. This suggests that we're most likely traveling within the solar system at impulse speeds. Shot number 2 cues the end of Act 1. The Enterprise and her crew have just been called to duty, and as Sulu laments, no more little training crews. The shot itself is interesting because many fans have assumed it's recycled TMP footage. In fact, it's also correct to suggest that the shot is unique to Star Trek II. It's the first warp shot in both films, and when I put the footage side by side, we can see that some real effort went into this. It is not a recycled shot in the literal sense. Harve Bennett's team did reuse the original Enterprise plate and its light streaking, but a completely new starfield effect was brought in. More critically, the signature rainbow burst was dropped for Star Trek II, meaning that TMP was the first and only film in which that effect was used. As an interesting aside, I pay tribute to our long-lost rainbow burst in my 2016 treatment of Star Trek V. Okay, so while technically it's not a recycled shot, it is too easily confused as a TMP shot. On this basis, I felt it was prudent to go ahead and produce a replacement. Now, I allowed myself a bit of creative freedom here because Star Trek's warp effect didn't reach maturity until Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. Thus, I didn't feel any pressure to duplicate the versions we see in the later films. I wanted something that would be uniquely special for the second film, yet would still telegraph how the warped visuals were evolving from the motion picture to The Search for Spock.
Warp 5, so the little trading cruise.
Shot number 3 is an extension of the first shot, depicting the Enterprise already cruising at warp. For the motion picture, 2 identical camera rigs were filmed, one with the camera passing slowly and one with the camera passing quickly. We know that the Enterprise was tracked and filmed twice because the ship's navigation lights blink at the same rate in both shots. For the unified replacement shot, it was important to add these signature light trails that ILM introduces later in the movie. Animated starlight streaks were also used to telegraph similar warp starfields in the later films.
Prepare to alter course.
Space Station Regular 1, please come in.
Dr. Marcus, please respond.
Harve Bennett did indeed squeeze every penny in Star Trek II, because ILM already had a distressed model available, yet we get this recycled TMP shot edited to conceal areas of the ship that should be damaged. My main issue with the recycled version is not that it avoids showing a damaged Enterprise, but rather that it suggests the Enterprise is in deep space. At this point in the film, the Enterprise crew is still monitoring the newly formed Genesis planet. Shot number 4 proved the most challenging from a creative standpoint. I couldn't easily decide how best to compose the shot in a way that included a proper space background. So I spent a few days producing 4 very different takes of the final shot, and then tasked myself with selecting one. I must give shoutouts to Joey and James at the Delimited Productions Facebook site for easing this decision. So this concludes our months-long journey into the process of completely excising our favorite Star Trek film from that other one. It was great fun to include you behind the scenes, and I do hope that these production vlogs gave you a sense of participation and learning, and maybe even some encouragement to start your own fan editing project. My work in this project hasn't quite wrapped yet. The new space dock interior was always evolving, and so some of the earlier interior shots will need reshoots so that there are no obvious continuity issues. If you'd like to know when the project has formally wrapped, I suggest following the Facebook page. Before I sign off, I want to acknowledge reaching 500 channel subscribers. It was a nice surprise reaching that milestone just as this production series reached its conclusion. As always, thank you for watching and following. Until next time, this is Antimatter.